a bit more out there. There was only a couple of ways out for a kid like me from Salford back then to make it as a footballer or maybe a boxer. Hopefully there's a few more opportunities for kids from Salford nowadays, but that's the way it was back then. Those were your routes out. I began to realise that being a rock star could be a way out too. We were rock stars before we even had a band in our little way. I was well known around our way, being a bit of a dick. Although there was 3 sets of brothers round our way. There was the Rowans and the Websters and the Ryders. And over the years we all had a lot of fights. My reputation preceded me, same with Bez. We were both living rock and roll lives before we met. The sex and drugs came before the rock and roll, really. The truth is there's no fail-safe guide to being a rock star. I'll tell you as much about my experiences in this book as I can and about what it was like for me. And hopefully some of it will be useful or at least entertaining. But I'll let you in on a secret. Most rock stars are making it up as they go along. It's not something you can be taught, really. I know there's some Svengalis who think they can mastermind bands like they're a puppeteer, but those are pop bands, really. From the Monkeys to take that. Maybe you can teach someone to be a pop star, but you can't teach someone to be a rock star. There are some rock stars who stride on stage in front of 70,000 people thinking, this is where I belong. I was born to do this. I deserve to have 70,000 people staring at me, cheering my every word. I mean, you've got to have a fucking huge ego in the first place, haven't you? So even if it's not like huge, it's still going to be pretty damn fucking big. I think most musicians and rock stars suffer from self-doubt at one stage or another. Half the time when some rock star is giving it out about being the greatest in the world, that's just bravado, covering up for their self-doubt. Or maybe it's the drugs talking. But if you're going to last any distance in this game, then you have to find a way of becoming comfortable with that. You have to find a way of having a bit of an ego without being a dick and without worrying too much about it. None of it is real, and it's important to remember that. The music is important, and you can't last without good tunes, but a lot of the rest of it is smoke and mirrors. That's why I find bigger gigs easier to do, which may surprise some people, but they're easier because they're just so unreal, and the huge audience is just a mass of people. So it's easier to get in the mindset of playing a rock star. The hardest gigs are the little intimate ones. It's hard to be a rock star and swiveling your hips when you can see the whites of everyone's eyes staring at you. The other thing I would say is that it's fucking hard work. It's a slog to get started, to get noticed, and touring never becomes that easy. You're away from the family, and there are times when everyone wants a piece of you and you feel like you're getting hassled all the time. But having been a postboy for a few years, when I was younger, I know the alternative is much more of a slog, so I'm never not grateful. There's nothing more annoying than a rock star banging on about how hard his life is. I never wanted to be like anyone else. I never wanted to be like Mick Jagger or David Bowie or Ian Curtis. I wanted to be Shaun Ryder. Of course, there were bands that me and the rest of the bands were really into, but we never wanted to copy anyone else or sound like anyone else. I mean, I actually did, in my wildest fantasies, used to think, wow, yeah, I want to be like Jagger or Lennon. So, even Ian Curtis, when I was much older and there's less an excuse of it. In very early rehearsals, we used to do a few cover versions, Joy Division mainly, but that was just us learning our instruments, not because we wanted to sound like Joy Division. Doing other people's songs is all about learning timing, and you can't learn timing if straight away when you picked up your instrument you're making your own songs, you're writing your own songs. So you learn timing by doing covers. When we first started trying to write our own songs, if Mark Day, our guitarist, or our kid on bass came up with something that sounded like someone else, even if it was a band we were really into, like the Beatles or Joy Division, we go, nah, get rid of it. Sounds too much like the Beatles. Sack that. It reminds me of Joy Division. We were all on the same page. We wanted to create our own sound that was different to anyone else. We didn't realise how unusual that was at the time. Most bands were starting out and first trying to make a noise and write songs